everybody. Today I'm going to be reviewing Proto's J150WP half-inch drive pneumatic impact. Now this is the most powerful half-inch drive impact that Proto makes, and it actually puts out up to 1,260 foot-pounds of breakaway torque, which is just a tremendous amount of power to get out of something this size. Now I've been using it for over the last month, pretty much every single day, and I even loaned it out to a few different mechanics to see what they thought of it. One of those mechanics owns a tire repair shop, and all they do is put on brand new tires and do tire rotations all day long. So like 4 or 5 different guys that work for him were using this. And now they're already used to using like the truck brand impacts that are very high priced but do have good performance. So right off the bat, when I told them how much this costs, they were really not expecting a whole lot. So after using it, they actually told me that the Proto was more powerful than their truck brand impact, and it was a lot more comfortable to use because it's so well balanced. Now about 50% of the weight is to the rear and about 50% of the weight is to the front, so it doesn't want to tilt on you when you're using it. And if you take the fitting off the bottom, this is actually going to stand upright on a table without falling over. Now when I first got it in, I did put the protective boot on it to save the finish, because anytime I have an impact that has an option for a protective boot, I always pick one up, so later on when I want to get rid of it, it's still going to be in good condition. And let's say I happen to accidentally drop it, it's a lot more likely to come away unscathed than to have problems, let's say a cracked nose cone or any physical damage to it that wouldn't be covered by a warranty. So what I'm going to do now is give you some closer views. We're going to take that protective boot off there and then go over the different features of this. So the first thing I want to do is remove the rubber protective boot just to see what kind of job it did protecting it over the last month of use and abuse. And what we'll do is just pop this off here. The Proto ones are extremely easy to take off because, as you can see, almost the entire bottom is open. So there's really no heat or creative ways that you need to get this on and off of here. What we're going to do is just basically just slide it over the end. We'll stick our fingers in the end and then pull the boot off. And you can see it is a very snug, tight fit. And the impact itself pretty much looks almost brand new underneath of there. So it did a very good job protecting it. It looks like some dirt got in underneath of it, but I'm sure this would just wipe off. There's no scratches or dings or dents, which was the main thing I was trying to protect it from. And if we take a look at that boot, you can see all of the dirt, grime, and debris that is really just embedded in it. This is a fairly thick rubber material, and it really did a nice job protecting it. So after a month, the boot's still in good shape, and really if you use some kind of cleaner, this may even clean up just as nice as the impact. Now to go over the different features of the impact, you'll notice that the nose cone is not made out of steel, and it's actually made out of titanium. And that's a very strong metal that's also very lightweight. The trigger on this is very easy to use, and it has something that's real nice, is an ambidextrous reverse and forward change switch as well as power settings. So whether you're left or right-handed, this little knob here is going to turn, and you can change the power settings as well as forward or reverse with one hand. So it's not on the back of the gun and it's not somewhere out of the way. This does take a little bit to get used to, but I've used a Cornwell impact for quite some time that's 3/8 that has a similar trigger, and it has a similar directional switch change as well as power change settings. Now this one is set up for right-handed use only, and if you want to change it to left-handed use, then you really have to take the entire impact apart to switch the trigger around. But what Proto's done is made this equally useful for left and right-handed use with no modifications needed. One thing that I think Proto really did right with this impact was the trigger. It's very easy to feather it, and if we just watch this, just pressing in with one finger, you can see the full range of motion. What it is spring-loaded back here, and if I press it in all the way and release it, it's going to instantly pop back open. So there is a lot of pressure pressing back out. And if you want to apply just a little bit of torque, you can press it in just a little bit, or if you want to apply full torque, then you can press it in all the way and it's going to spin at maximum speed. So that's a real nice feature to have. Many impacts do not have nearly that nice of a trigger, and that is something that I really like about the J150WP. To get the maximum amount of power and performance out of your impact, you really should use some high flow air fittings. Now, most people with any pneumatic tool are going to use these standard 1/4" air fittings. And if you look at the side that actually plugs into the tool, it's much larger than the side that will plug into the hose. But if we bump that up to high flow 3/8" air fittings, the hole that plugs into the hose and the hole that plugs into the actual gun itself are almost identical in size. So holding these side by side, you can see the tremendous amount of airflow and air volume that this one's going to allow through that would otherwise be restricted with the smaller air fitting. Now, I first found out about this a long time ago when I used to work on Army trucks, because I had an older Ingersoll-rand 231 impact that was really seeming to lack on power, and I couldn't knock off many of the different lug nuts on some of the Army trucks. So rather than just replace the entire setup of air compressor, the impact, and all the lines, I went to a heavy-duty truck repair shop to ask them their advice. And they said the first thing that they would try is to upgrade all the fittings from 1/4" to 3/8. So that's exactly what I did. I went to one of the local Napas and I bought a bunch of different fittings, and from the compressor all the way to the gun, I changed out all the smaller fittings with these larger 3/8 ones. And then after I did that, using the same compressor and that same Ingersoll-rand 231, I no longer had any problems and it was able to knock off those lug nuts with ease. So it may not be the end-all solution for everyone, but in my situation, those high-flow air fittings really made a difference. Now the anvil on this is a standard friction ring or hog ring anvil. There's no pin detent or anything like that. So it is just standard for automotive uses. And what this is going to allow you to do is remove and install sockets very quickly and very easily. And you can see if you just line it up, it's going to pop right in place and it's held in very well. And when you want to change sockets or, put the tool away, you can just grab a hold of it, pop the socket right off, and then you're ready to move on. So now let's check out some clips of the Proto J150WP actually being used. you've seen Proto's J150WP for yourself. Now this thing has a tremendous amount of power, but the best part is how lightweight it is, well balanced it is, and it's not going to let you down. We took off a ton of different things with this. I mean, lug nuts were the #1 thing, or suspension parts, but we did take off a few Honda crank bolts and it just zipped them right off like a screw coming out of drywall. It does have a 2-year warranty through Proto, so if you ever do have problems with it, they are going to fix that for you. If you like this video, please click like. If you like my channel, please click subscribe. And thanks for watching.